And what I see here is an enormously important moment. But let's play with two scenarios. Let's play with one scenario in which Obama is elected, and there is no powerful movement built, no capacity to dismantle the apparatus itself, that out of which this debt grows, and out of which all of these other things grow, and that he struggles through another 4 years, and things don't get any better. Let's say they don't get terribly worse, but they are getting worse, and who knows how terribly worse it might get. What I see there is a trip in which people would say, we have tried the liberals. We have tried the liberal of liberals. We've tried a black liberal. And the situation, and how easy it will be to blame. What a time for a black man to be president, when the place is melting, literally melting, and the economy is melting, and all of these things are happening. Now it's time for a black man to be president. And if he doesn't come through, you know, and I know, the culture of blaming will unleash itself in a massive way. And what that actually will look like is that those who run the economy now, or trying to run it, will say, we've tried all of that, and what we have to do is, it will be, what do they call it, a backlash, in which the most reactionary, the most anti-human, the most war-prone will rise to power. And if we think that this Patriot Act and these other things are a problem, I think it will be magnified tenfold. That's what this moment suggests. That's the danger in it. But actually, there's never a big danger without the other side of the coin. And that's a big opportunity. They are linked together. Whenever you see one, the other one is there. And so after the election will be much more important than the election, because then we have to build a movement from the bottom up and the top down at the same time. We have to link up the Latinos and the blacks, and the homeless and the college professors and all of them, and we have to do a level of education. We have to turn the whole nation into a schoolroom. And the schoolroom has to be the streets and the fields and the university and all of that. That's the kind of movement that has to be built. And if we don't build it, we will suffer the consequences of it. And that movement, you know, I used to think the Federal Reserve had something to do with the federal government substantially. It actually is a name. It's 5 banks. and Greenspan or whoever replaced him, just inventing money out of thin air. On the other side of this so-called money, which is nothing but paper notes circling around through banks and in computers and so forth, are no goods and services that correspond to it. And it drug all of the people into this misery and pain as a few people are wallowing in the obscenity of their wealth. And I want to say to you that that is criminal behavior. That's criminal behavior. When one CEO can get 500 times as much in salary, not even to start with wealth, as a worker. I get $1, you get 500. And so what I'm saying is that that is not just an aberration of personalities, that the space is there to create the derivatives and the short sales and all the other instruments that are needed. It's built into that system, and that's what has to get dismantled. And I would suggest to you, why isn't the government the printer of money? That's what Abraham Lincoln did after the Civil War. He said, I want money to fight the war. They said, we're not going to give it to you. He said, that's all right. I will print the money, and I got the army to stand behind my money. And that's actually what a government ought to be doing. Why is the government paying interest on money? Why is it doing that? And who is it paying the interest to? If the government printed its own money and the money were balanced with the needs of real expansion and real production. And to stay with that 2% that Chip Smith talked about, we're financing now, which is nothing but gambling games in which money is going around in circles, and illusion that people are getting something when they're getting themselves deeper and deeper into it. All of that has to get understood. And I just started looking at it in the last 6 months, because the thing, and right now, when you get in a period like this, people have ears to hear and eyes to see that they didn't have yesterday. And so people are open to trying to understand this thing now. And so you and I have to build this marvelous and beautiful unity. It will be challenging. But I want to suggest to you that if at the center of it is what I call love, and you might call it something else, it's the notion that we all belong to each other, that we are all interconnected and interrelated. And there is a substance about us that yearns and pushes out for the better. Even when it's surrounded by powers and principalities and darkness in high places, there's still a push for it. I don't know how to explain it. Some say it's the Imago Dei. It's the way in which we were structured. And I like that statement that King made when he suggested that the universe is structured that way. He said that it's all of what you see it, and it's bad. He said the arc of the moral universe is long and torturous and difficult, but at the end of the day, that arc bends toward justice. If we believe that, then we can stay on the battlefield against all of the, I don't want to demonize the sister, Sarah Palin type things, and to build this movement. Beloved, I think that we have now one of the most exciting and decisive moments. It goes by the 60s like a jet plane goes by a bus. Now that the 60s pales in comparison to what this is. And as descendants of slaves, located in the center of this republic, which arguably now has the greatest influence on the world than any other nation. And we have arguably, potentially, the greatest influence on this nation. You see how you're socially located? I end with this. There is a story I like to tell about the power of black spirituality. And that is that in the middle of the Cold War, or in the early phases of the Cold War, when first strike capacity or first strike doctrine developed, in other words, we'll drop the bomb on you if we think you're going to drop it on us. And Bush actually got to that. You know, we'll start war with you if we think you're going to start. And so that developed.